up tonight on News Center Now. How do you talk with your young children about suicide? The reason why we're bringing this up.
Also tonight, you know about hashtags. How about trash tag? It's a move to save the environment.
I love that. And it's match day for medical students. This as Maine faces a doctor shortage. This is News Center Now. One in 3 preteens screen positive for suicide risk in emergency rooms. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Mills.
And I'm Lee Nelson. Thanks for being with us this evening. The USA Today report had some pretty eye-opening stats about this situation. A study by the National Institutes of Health looked at kids between the ages of 10 and 12, and they found that 23 preteens were positive for suicide risk out of the 79 preteens they screened. Another pretty alarming stat was that 1 in 5 of the preteens who visited the ER for psychiatric issues had previously attempted suicide.
Hannah Kazalonis of Manifest Counseling Services is here and trying to help us start this conversation. How do we talk with our preteens about this topic? It seems very dark and very heavy for preteens.
Very early to be worried about things.
But such an important topic to be talking about. You know, there are so many stressors in those years, from, you know, building social groups, sometimes finding your first love and being heartbroken, being exposed to big tests and trying out for sports teams. So it's so important to be having open discussion around it.
And then how much harder is social media making all of this?
It's so much harder, honestly. If you think about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, kids could, you know, maybe leave the bullying at school and go home to a more loving environment and kind of turn it off. And now it's always accessible. It's in, you know, current time.
For some parents who might think, I don't want to bring that word up because it might give them the wrong idea. What's your response to that?
Yeah, thank you for asking, because I think that's the most important myth to be dispelled. You know, talking about suicide and directly asking, you know, have you been thinking about killing yourself, or, you know, have you thought about suicide, is so important to do, because oftentimes when people are in that devastated mindset, they're feeling pretty invisible and like people wouldn't notice anyway. And so to be acknowledging their pain and to be showing love and compassion in those moments can be what saves a life. So it does not plant the seed. It's so important to know that directly asking will only make somebody feel loved and cared about.
This particular issue was done at 3 urban hospitals, but I'm assuming the problem is just as bad in rural areas too, like Maine?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not something that discriminates. This is a huge issue. You know, females are more likely to attempt suicide, and males are more likely to complete suicide. I think another important thing to know is that suicide is most often completed by handgun. And so that is a risk factor. If there's a handgun in the home, it's going to be so important to make sure that's in a safe place, or even keep it with a friend if you know that your child is struggling with suicidality, or anybody in your home. This is an important discussion to be having with all age groups.
It sure is. Earlier and earlier.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to continue this conversation over the commercial break on Facebook Live, so if you have questions, please send them in now. We'll be looking for them.
All right, should we talk to Keith now? What do you think?
Let's do it. Send it over to Keith, right?
Yeah, good stuff today. Really mild in a lot of spots. What struck me about this map is that the southwestern part of the state did really well, as we expected. But look at Berlin, it's 61 for the high and 60 in Freiburg. And there was a distinct cloudier, rainier solution off to the east, but still good enough for the 50s in a lot of spots. Current temperatures are close to our highs for today. Remember, because of daylight saving time, now we have a little bit more time in the afternoon to sustain these temperatures before the sun starts to wane and temperatures go back down. But it's not going to be an overly cold night tonight, and there's a little breaking sunshine here over the western part of the state. So the day ends much nicer than it began in most spots, and the rain is pretty much out of here. Look at that, some thunderstorms out there over the Gulf of Maine, a sign of changing seasons for sure. Overnight tonight, temperatures probably don't get below 38, 37 in most spots, and there's more rain offshore, but it basically misses us. Tomorrow is a decent day. It's partly cloudy, not as mild as today, but more sunshine than today for most of us, into the mid-40s. So guys, the question remains, is winter done with us? We'll talk a little bit about the mid-range in a few minutes.
All right, Keith. Sounds good. See you in a bit, for sure. Now some news. An 11-year-old is in custody this evening after 2 people were shot this morning in Alton, New Hampshire. At least one of the victims has died. Not a lot of information on this case just yet. We do know the shooting happened at or near a home on the Dobbins Way in Alton. And Cameron O'Brien's going to have much more on the story in the next 90 minutes or so.
A man named Austin McDevitt from the town of Morrill is under arrest tonight, charged with shooting and killing Shane Sauer of Belfast. The shooting happened early this morning, shortly before 5, behind a home in nearby Swanville. There was apparently a woman at the home at the time, but so far police say she's not considered to be a suspect. We'll have much more on this coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30 and 6.
The president signed his first veto this afternoon, and in doing so, he rejected the congressional resolution that overturned his decision to declare a national emergency on the border with Mexico, of course, to redirect funding to build a wall. That resolution was signed by 12 members of his own party, including Maine's Susan Collins, in what was seen as a major rebuke of the president's use of power. However, right now, neither chamber of Congress has the necessary 2/3 vote to override that veto. Still, the House is planning an override vote on March 26th. That's next Tuesday.
Hundreds of thousands of students around the world walked out of school today, out of classes, to march for political action on climate change. The protests were inspired by 16-year-old Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, who began holding solitary demonstrations outside Sweden's parliament last year. The groups are saying governments have failed future generations by not cutting emissions and curbing global warming. This, by the way, is a look at some Snapchat posts earlier today that were made public in Portland from the walkout there. Students in Bar Harbor also planned to participate.
And happy birthday to us and you and all of us Mainers. We're 199 today.
Wow, that's old.
Yeah, it was on the, and I feel it too. It was on this day, March 15th, back in 1820, that Maine officially became a state. Before that, of course, we were part of the Bay State, Massachusetts. And as you can see, a lot of Mainers are sharing their favorite spots on social media today as well.
You know Acadia is going to get a shout out at some point in
Absolutely.
there. One of the most beautiful places, I would argue.
A shout out to my sister too. It's also her birthday today.
But she's not 199.
No, she's like 175, so she's not nearly as old.
She's got a little ways to go.
Right. All right, coming up, we're going to take a look at a unique animal photo from Lincoln. People all over the world want to see this thing.
Plus, students unseal their fate and find out where their medical school training will take them next. This as Maine grapples with a doctor shortage. We'll be right back.
I saw you post that, and I wondered what it was. I saw the match day, and I was like, okay, but I'm going to get to see what it was later on, so it's good.
The vibe was so, I've always wanted to cover a match day. So match day, for those who don't know, is when medical students learn where they've been matched, what hospital they've been matched at to complete their residency. The residency is another 3 years, sometimes longer, depending on what type of medicine or what field they go into. It's kind of interesting. It'd be like in our careers, right? We have to travel around and go to different cities, but if we all found out at one time what station we were being dispatched to, you know? So it's really
anxiety,
interesting.
excitement, maybe some sadness too?
And at times, yes, because sometimes you don't get the place you wanted.
Right.
Or there's a lot of couples actually in the medical industry.
Oh yeah,
and
don't
so,
end up in the same hospital.
Yes, and this happened to a girlfriend of mine. She and her husband ended up getting matched together, thankfully, but they don't always do.
Right.
But today was really awesome, and I can't wait to share this story in a little bit. Definitely a good story there.
Excellent.
So yeah, let's have Hannah come back over. We have a few minutes. So guys, feel free to ask your questions for Hannah while she's here. But essentially, I mean, were you surprised when you saw the numbers this morning at how young these preteens are that are screening positive for suicide risk?
You know, honestly, I wasn't. It's such a terrible thing that becomes, I think, more and more common, again, with so much technology, and I would say even more risk factors now. We live in a very competitive world, so yeah, I mean, it's a common thing.
Was this an issue 25 years ago with kids this young?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that it was for kids this young. I really think that the social media piece to this is big.
Yeah, it can't be understated, really.
It really can't. And also, you know, more just kind of technology in general, staring at screens, kids are more disconnected. So it's so important for parents to be doing everything they can to make those connections. I know sometimes in those years it feels like, you know, they don't want to be around me, and they may be saying that, but, you know, to make sure you're doing it anyway and doing things they want to do.
Hannah, thank you so much. We're out of time.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming by. Thank you. Hannah, if you want to leave your mic too right there, you're good to go. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Thank you, thank you.
We would charge you with theft if you walked away.
I've let microphones go all over before. Not good. So walking with your dog, it's a great way to get some exercise, stretch the legs, bond with your best friend, and clear your mind, right? Well, you might want to be careful while you're out there. Why? A new study suggests dog walking injuries are on the rise, especially among older Americans. The study was done at UPenn. Researchers there found an uptick in the number of bone fractures in seniors while they're walking their dogs. Most of the injuries are to the hip and upper extremities, and they're happening most often in women. Obviously, you need to keep walking your dog, so what do? The folks at UPenn are suggesting older Americans start getting smaller dogs, which are easier to handle.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And I have a smaller dog, and they're awesome. So there you go.
They are. Well, have you met Tito yet?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
a baby
story.
though, a pup.
Yeah.
You know, that's a separate category.
Yeah. He's a little fur missile. He's all over the place.
Yeah. And this too, a couple of interesting animal encounters from around the state we wanted to talk about. Roger Stevens spent 5 hours on the phone this morning talking to media outlets all around the world, all interested in one little picture, and you will see why, okay? He snapped this shot of a squirrel squaring off with a bald eagle. This is in Lincoln, and it was shared all around the country and overseas too, in London. After talking to a biologist, Stephen is convinced that this gray squirrel was a mom trying to protect her nest nearby.
Wow.
Don't mess with my kids.
What a photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caption contest go. Right?
I know, right.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, also we've seen a lot of bobcat pictures and videos this winter. Here's the latest one circulating the internet. This video is from Wednesday night in Glenburn. Dan Soul and his girlfriend heard a smash on their window. The couple was sitting on their couch and had just finished watching a show on TV when they heard the bang around 11 o'clock. Soul said the noise was different than the normal sound of snow falling on the roof, so he got up to check it out and see what was going on. That's when he saw the bobcat peering through the window right back at him. Eek.
Those things are so cool. They're so cool.
From a distance.
Yes.
A safe distance.
Behind the glass. They're perfect.
Exactly.
All right, coming up, we're going to find out what the trash tag challenge is all about.
I love that. You can't do it without doing the hashtag, right?
No. If you watch Fallon at all, no, you can't.
Exactly. And speaking of thank you notes, just kidding. Keith's never writing thank you notes. We're going to find out what's going on in the weather department. I love that segment, the thank you notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Deborah says that's a brave little squirrel. And Deborah also says she broke her arm walking her dog a couple years ago.
Slipping on the ice or just being yanked, I wonder?
Yeah, Deborah, what happened there? One of my old news directors, he had his hand broken when he was walking a dog. The dog pulled in a way that the leash tightened too fast around his hand, and it fractured his hand.
Yeah. Obviously a large dog.
Yeah,
Had to be a large dog.
very large dog.
Tito.
So I bring up Tito, and these guys know too on Facebook, and Keith very well knows this too. We're working through some aggression issues with Tito.
Tito had a rough life before, we think.
I know.
Okay.
So
it wasn't a pup. It was a.
we got him at 4 months old. Now he's like a year and a half. Actually, he'll be 2 in May. He's missing a leg. He came from off the streets.
Yeah.
But like this is a Tito wound.
You would think Tito is legitimately 16 years old. Like the fact
With
that
his
he's like 2 years
attitude?
old, just look. They're hard years, I guess.
So we got some composure vitamins and some training, and we're gonna be okay.
Composure vitamins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't know.
Old school.
No.
Gotta keep your composure.
Keep it together. Keep it together.
And you have your suitcase, which is good.
Exactly.
You have to leave town very quickly.
My suitcase. Packing on out. I just can't believe it's light out right now.
Right.
You know that when I have done stuff on that set by myself,
Yeah.
they frequently would ask me to stand like this.
Because you're
I was
too
too
tall?
high in where the lights are.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So I know I
It's
screw
funny,
everyone
Keith
up
stands
when I
like that
stand
anyway.
beside you.
Well, it's like with Coco too. You guys are both so tall. We can ad-lib this too. It's basically teeing up the match day story if you want to start it off.
Yeah, sure.
And there's a shortage, and UNE students are going to go do their residencies out of state, but then come back.
Yeah, 30 away.
Sometimes it's easier to just say it in your own words. Even I'll write my own script, and I don't even stick to it. Sarah, I love those sneaks.
Thank you.
Those are styling. Are they?
They're comfy too.
Are they?
I think they're Asics.
A6 is great.
Which is good. It's like hard to find cute like ones that aren't super ugly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, stand by.
All right, we're back. I saw your post earlier today about match day. And I was
Yeah.
like, what is this all about? I saw a girl crying and I thought, I got to find out. And now I'm about to learn a whole lot more. Apparently, all med students find out where they're headed, right?
Exactly. All at once, all on the same day. They find out where they're going to go, where they're going to be continuing their training for their residencies. The problem is in Maine, the options for those residencies are very limited, so a lot of these students are going to have to go out of state to do that, but then many return to come back home to Maine, especially because there's a gap in doctors here.
You guys should be so proud of yourselves. We're so proud of you.
A flurry of champagne flutes and red envelopes.
So much has happened between August 2015 and today.
At the University of New England campus, resisting sips and the urge to open them until these medical students get the cue.
Interestingly, I wanted to be an architect.
Annie Lou remembers exactly when she realized she wanted to be a doctor.
My mom had gotten sick, and I was really inspired by the doctors who had treated her and taking care of her. Sadly, I lost her, but I realized that I wanted to do more.
It's match day, and Lou is among the more than 120 students about to learn where their medical training will take them next, which hospital they've been assigned to for their residencies.
I think I'm gonna feel a huge sense of relief to know.
They found out on Monday that they had matched, they just don't know where.
Jane Carrero is the dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine. She says in Maine, there's a major shortage of primary care physicians.
A significant portion of our doctors are over the age of 55 and 65. They're going to be retiring soon. Most of those are in rural areas.
She says there's another factor that adds to the difficulty of filling the shortage.
North of Portland, you only have family medicine residencies. You don't have pediatric residencies or internal medicine residencies or even general surgery residencies. So if a student doesn't get into the Maine med system, they really have to go out of state.
But in this moment, Lou is learning where she and her new fiance will be moving. Their goal is to eventually return to Maine.
So sweet. I loved that moment. So there's a new effort also to provide more residency opportunities. Senator Susan Collins has backed a bipartisan bill to authorize nearly $650 million over the course of 5 years to train medical residents in community-based settings, including rural areas like we have here in Maine.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. But again, I hope everybody got what they wanted. Probably not the case, right? But
Not the case for everybody, unfortunately, but...
Did we do the story, or did I read this somewhere else, about how it costs more to get stuff done in your average rural hospital as opposed to city hospital?
Sounds familiar.
Which is
well,
like the
it's
opposite of
less
what you might
expensive
think.
for a lot of things in Boston than it is here.
Right.
Yes,
I think that's what it was getting at.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful today. Well, it wasn't
53
beautiful, but it was mild.
Yeah.
It started off with rain, and it was kind of all over the place, but now enjoy it unless you have to work, I guess. Maine keeping us down. 60 in Sanford, 53 in Portland for a high temperature, 60, and look at Berlin, 61 degrees. You can see considerable areas where we saw sun versus those that waited till late in the day to break out into sunshine. It makes a big difference this time of the year. Local view shows you that Wells is sitting at 61 degrees. Bethel, 61 as well. Not too often it's that warm up in the ski areas this time of the year. 40s though to the north, more clouds. Lingering showers there is what kept temperatures down. Clouds racing away very quickly though, and all of us are going to clear out. Some of us it'll only be for about a half hour before the sun sets, but you can see the shower activity has moved away. And some thunderstorms showing you the moist, the convective air out over the Gulf of Maine. So overnight tonight is not going to be cold. We'll be in the 30s at the worst, and here we're at 10 o'clock still in the mid 40s in a lot of spots. Isolated shower can't be ruled out, but I think most of us end up dry. Tomorrow's partly cloudy. It's not a beautiful day from start to finish, but temperatures get into the mid 40s. It's breezy, and there'll be a couple of snow showers in the mountains. Tomorrow afternoon late, cold air starts to work into the mountains, then sweeps down into the coastline by Sunday. But cold is a relative term this time of the year, and so even still on Sunday we should get into the upper 30s along the coastline, mid 30s farther inland. Overnight lows, not much here. 35, 36, well below or well above what your average would be for this time of the year. And the only cool shot I see is late next week, and it's not a lock, but if you look into it, this is Friday, Saturday of next week, and you can see a little cooler lobe trying to rotate down in here. And if it sticks, it could be our last real chance of cooler air, because after that, it is really mild to our west. So we continue to watch late next week as our not last chance, but next chance of anything cold and wintry. All right, here's a look at our 7-day. Overall pretty quiet. Looks like we should trend milder again on Thursday. We may snap cold, as I mentioned, Friday night and into Saturday of next week. That's not set in stone, but that's that area that we just keep watching and saying, okay, if we're gonna have another storm, it'd be out there. And so we'll see if it materializes. So far, it is not. So
good.
They can stay out wherever it is, where it belongs.
Out over the ocean.
With the fishes, as they say.
Sleeps with the fishes.
Thanks, Keith. An Israeli city is using LED lighting at crosswalks to ward off zombies. Tel Aviv City Hall installed the new LED light strips at crossings in the central intersection of the bustling city, an effort to protect phone-obsessed smartphone zombies from stepping into traffic and to reduce potential injuries. Wired to match the traffic lights, the lighting strips change from red to green in an effort to grab pedestrians' attention while they're looking down at their phones.
So real zombies we're talking about.
Exactly.
All right. A hashtag that's going viral for a good cause. That's the goal of the Trash Tag Challenge. Okay, the challenge consists of before pictures of area full of litter and trash and peeps and stuff, and then after pictures of what it looks like cleaned up. Here's a closer look at it.
In the shadows of tall peaks,
beer bottles,
it's man's mark on nature that stands out in the pristine East Tennessee vistas.
I don't know why anyone would want to throw garbage
atop one of the most popular overlooks near Gatlinburg.
I see graffiti and trash around everywhere.
Trash greets visitors with a welcome that's impossible to ignore.
Like smudging a big mop around with garbage.
A pile of discarded cigarettes sits in the corner of the parking lot. A case of beer finds an unwanted resting place halfway down the hill. And armed with nothing more than a trash bag,
in my opinion, it's just kind of unacceptable.
Mary Gibson sets off to tackle Tennessee's trash troubles.
It blows my mind the sheer amount of garbage that people just throw.
Mary and her husband Matthew brought the viral Trash Tag Challenge to the Smokies.
This was the best challenge I had seen yet.
Posting pictures of litter on social media in an effort to encourage others to get outside and clean up the planet.
If it's just a simple bottle on the side of the road, pick it up.
In 3 hours, they tallied up more than a dozen bags worth of garbage picked up inside the national park.
There was everything from broken glass, bottles, cans, food containers, personal items.
A viral challenge like this is about more than just getting likes on Facebook.
This is such a beautiful place and a beautiful area, and I can't understand people wanting to litter.
It's about saving our planet.
And check out some of these hashtag trash tag examples on social media, people trying to clean up their communities Just be careful though what you might pick up. You might want to wear some gloves when you're out there.
Yes.
Yeah. I went plogging one time. That's a sport where you get exercise while picking up trash.
Okay.
And the gloves were like the first step, then sneakers.
I'm sure. Plogging, okay.
Yeah, plogging. Disney has reinstated director James Gunn to work on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Fans must be excited. Gunn was previously fired from the project after some old tweets where he joked about subjects like pedophilia and rape, and those tweets were dug up and brought to light in July of 2018. Gunn posted saying he was tremendously grateful to every person out there who supported him over the past few months.
All righty, let's check in with Cindy, see what's coming up at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, guys. We got a lot of stories coming up, including one out of Swanville. It sounds like there was some kind of love triangle going on there, one that police say may have sparked a shooting. One man is dead, another is under arrest. We'll have the latest. And the battle over the controversial TNT transmission line moves to Augusta and focuses on whether that line would really help fight climate change, as the company claims it would. Those stories and more ahead at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, Cindy. Thanks so much. Stick with us. Brain drops when we come back.
All right, I'm out of here. Hope I didn't wear out my welcome.
No, you did great. Week 1. Woo, 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 woo. Will you be back for week 2?
I will. And I need to bring this down. Yep. I will.
I'm not sure which, if Lee, Isaac grabbed yours or Cindy's, but one of you will.
Doesn't matter.
Liam, I select you. Thought you would like it. I got the canvas type, you know. Somebody actually took the time to make that, yeah.
Actually, I don't need this.
Great. It's better than cats playing poker, I'll tell you that.
We have a That's So Maine. Did you see the poem in Fort Kent? Roses are red, violets are blue. When this stuff melts, we'll need a canoe.
That's pretty
What's brain drops? The butterflies?
Butterflies.
Yes.
As demanded by you, Lindsay.
That's awesome. A pretty little butterfly. I feel like the heat is still cranking in this building, even though it's nice out.
They're working on it 'cause I was like, you guys, it's seriously 85 degrees in here.
Yeah, and I'm never overheating, so I'm always cold.
The air duct right now is putting out 77-degree air, so that doesn't make any sense.
No. I can't believe how far these butterflies go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, this is right. Remember I was telling you about the refuge?
Yeah.
It's right around here.
They've got these paths apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. This isn't super long, so we should be fine.
Perfect. It was funny. I actually got my first ever viral tweet when I was at that refuge doing the story about the butterflies and the birds that migrate there. I had photos of when all the birds come in at one time, the waterfowl. Oh, wow. And bird lovers like started retweeting me like crazy, and then I couldn't keep up with the retweets, and then
subset.
Yeah, and I never experienced that before. Like my phone was literally, it couldn't keep up.
That's why I don't do notifications on.
You don't?
No.
So do you have to like go in manually every day and like look?
Yeah, and also as you know, I'm really good at responding to people. So I just kind of. I'm better on Facebook at that because people ask questions on Facebook. I feel like Twitter.
Yeah, different audience.
Yeah.
Different audience.
It is.
All right, this is so Maine. Spotted in Fort Kent at a gas and go, this poem, roses are red, violets are blue. When this stuff melts, we'll need a canoe. I
probably true.
Agree.
Well, I didn't mean to rhyme that. But the gas and go is like, in foods, do you see gas and go foods? I always think that's weird. Like, I've had decent sandwiches at a place where they sell gas. Yeah. I just hate when they mix all those terms together. It doesn't sound appealing.
No.
Like, great sandwiches, also some gas. All right, we talked yesterday about butterflies because we had a snap map of it, and we were saying, butterflies migrate? And as soon as I looked this up, I remember learning this probably in like middle school-ish. Okay. But monarch butterflies are the ones that migrate, and these are the paths they take. What I thought was interesting about it is, so these butterflies don't have to go as far. They just go down into southern parts of California and northern parts of Mexico. But the ones from the east up our way, they go pretty far. Yeah. And all these routes are different, but they scientists claim that study them that they end up all chailing into one spot eventually.
I feel like this is a Disney movie waiting to happen.
Yeah, it could be. What about butterflies?
Yeah, and their migration pattern.
This could be your big claim to fame. Write a children's book. Trust me, I read some of these books to Luca, and I'm like, somebody made money off this. Yeah. All right, and then in the spring, they go the other way. So let's flip over to the other map. The patterns are a little bit more random, but they take the same highway out of here, so to speak. Probably terrain driven that they have to take the same path because those are pretty big mountains down there. And then they come back up. And so right now, if you look at the live interactive map, you'll see them starting to appear in southern Texas. Okay. And then they just slowly start navigating. I think the last one we have should show you a progression that they track them. I know, sorry, this is so small.
This is cool.
Couldn't make it any bigger. And this is by season, so this is May 16th. Takes a while for them to get here. They're smart. They're missing mud season, okay? And then they show up here around the end of June or into July, which is when we actually have summer here.
Awesome.
So pretty cool. They track them with little stickers and stuff.
Very cool. Spread your wings and fly.
So
News at Maine at 5:30 starts right now. That was really cool. That was probably my favorite brain drops.
I do remember that.
Bye, guys.
You like the asteroid one the most, I thought.